Mr Mayor, I'd like to advise this council meeting is being recorded in accordance with council's webcasting of council meeting policy. The recording will be archived and made available for viewing at any time on council's YouTube channel for a maximum period of 12 months. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, if you are in attendance in the public gallery, you should be aware that your presence may be recorded. Your continued attendance means that you agree to being recorded and also that you'll abide by the council's adopted code of meeting practice. The chairperson or general manager have the discretion to interrupt the recording of any meeting at any time should it be deemed necessary. This may occur in circumstances where commentary is considered to be misleading, defamatory or inappropriate to be published, or where behaviour breaches council's adopted code of meeting practice.
Okay, councillors, it is 6 o'clock. I'm just going to ask you all to stand for a minute silent in memory of Jim Shanahan, who, those that don't know, was out at Hill End and died suddenly there a bit over a week ago and was buried there on Monday. He was very good for Hill End. He had a lot to do with the Fire Brigade and the Progress Association, and he was just a great community member out there. So he'll be sadly missed, and our thoughts are with his family. So we'll just have a minute of silence, please. Thank you, councillors. Well, I might just keep you standing, those who can stand for the prayer and the acknowledgement. Almighty God, give wisdom to those in authority and guide all peoples in the way of righteousness and peace, that we may share with justice and the resources of the earth, work together in trust and seek the common good. Amen. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people and recognise the strength, resilience and capacity of Aboriginal people in this land. Thank you, councillors. General Manager, is there any apologies?
Mr Mayor, there are no apologies.
Councillor North, Councillor Christian. I'll put the motion carried. Item number 5, confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of Bathurst Regional Council held on the 16th of September. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Rudge, Councillor North. No discussion. I'll put the motion carried. General Manager, is there any declaration of interest?
Mr Mayor, I have no declarations of interest.
I have a mover and a seconder, Councillor North, Councillor Rudge. Put the motion, those in favour, those against, carried. We come to item number 7, councillors. I have 2 mayoral minutes. Item 7.1 and regarding an easement for water supply over existing line of pipes at George's Thomas Close, the lagoon. And item 7.2 is concerning the go-kart track at Mount Panorama, Waialoo. The minutes are on your desk and I'll allow you some time for you to read them. What I might do, councillors, is do item 7.1, the easement for water supply over the existing line of pipes at George Thomas Close Lagoon. I put the minute there to you. Is there any discussion? As there's no discussion, then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, councillors, you've all read the report. Does anyone need more time? Any councillor? If you don't want any more time, then I'll put the motion, item number 7.2, the go-kart track, Mount Panorama, Waialoo. And I'll just a little bit out of that, Merrill minute. Council has considered the go-kart track facility on a number of occasions and continues to support the location at the top of the Mount Panorama, Waialoo for this facility. I consider it urgent to resolve this matter as soon as possible, given the current debate in the community. The matter is not complex, as Council's position has been clearly determined by the reports previously referenced in your report you got there. And I'll get the General Manager to read the motion now.
Councillors, the mayoral minute for the go-kart track Mount Panorama, Waialoo, the Mayor has moved the following: that Council 1 vote funding of $2.25 million for the construction of the go-kart track at Mount Panorama, Waialoo. 2, the Council funds to be sourced by way of loan in 2020-21. And 3, continue to seek grants and other funding sources for the balance of $2.25 million required for the go-kart track.
Is there any discussion, councillors? Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is no need for a seconder for a mayoral minute.
No.
Mr. Mayor, I draw your attention to the Code of Conduct. These aren't the exact words, but mayoral minutes should be used to introduce an item without notice on matters that should not be used, to introduce matters that need to be researched or a lot of consideration by councils before making a decision, and that's the spirit of the code. I feel you're asking us to vote on something that requires us to find an extra $250,000 a year for 10 years, at least. No idea where that comes from in the budget, how we pay it back, in the context of what is in number, I think it's 8.23, we're $44 million under budget for critical infrastructure. So why would we put in a bitumen go-kart track where we face the real possibility of ripping up bitumen roads because we can't afford to fill the potholes in? So my point is, this isn't the mayoral minute. This is just us being steamrolled by you and your mates.
Councillor Fry. Councillor Rutch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't make a decision like this in such a short period of time. I think it's an important decision to source a loan, particularly during this COVID period of time where we're finding budgets tight. I did listen to Councillor Fry this afternoon on the radio talking about our asset backlog and how we need funding for various things in that domain. I can't make a decision such as this for this amount of money in a very short space of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roach. Is there any more discussion? Councillor Jennings?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I mean, you've seriously got to be joking. Asking us to embark on a loan using council and ratepayers' money with 5 minutes notice, that is just absurd. Totally absurd. Absolutely absurd and disrespectful of ratepayers' money. I don't know anyone in the business community ever who would go, oh yeah, let's do that. Let's just blow $2 million without even considering it properly. I mean, you've got to ask, if it came to borrowing money for something, what would the community choose? I can't see them putting the go-kart track as number one and at that price. I can't see the justification of adding $250,000 worth of ratepayers' money in interest payments alone. I just cannot see that washing with the community. The process here is just complete unprofessionalism. No due diligence, no due time. That is just totally not on, definitely not voting for it. And as Councillor Moore said, and as we all know, COVID has been a massive issue for every budget in every form of government, local, state and federal. And here we have a desperate measure to try and throw money at a go-kart track. Think about what you could do with the full cost of this go-kart track. It's not far off the cost of the Railway Museum. How many people visit the Railway Museum compared to what will visit the go-kart track? How many people are employed by the Railway Museum compared to what will be employed at the go-kart track? How many people visit Bathurst because of that Railway Museum? That's the kind of opportunity cost we're talking about here. And the lack of professionalism is just beyond belief.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Moss?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I'd like to speak to you and to all the councillors as a wise old woman tonight. And as such, I feel I'm entitled to be called an elder of my community. As an elder, I'm very concerned about the division within council and within the community about whether the top of Mount Panorama should be given to a sporting organisation. Mount Panorama is an important feature of Bathurst. It has been a feature for centuries as a place for the original inhabitants of the area, and it became an important place when the British came to the central west of New South Wales. And why is it important? Because it's a hill. In all cultures across the world, hills are special. In some cultures, hills have religious significance. In other cultures, hills are nice places with nice views. Hills are used in battles and they're used for churches, for ceremonies and for fun. We have Evans Crown in our area with its amazing boulders, and we have Mount Pleasant, two other hills for us. And Mount Pleasant, of course, is the burial place of one of Bathurst's early settlers. For centuries, Mount Panorama was a special place for rituals and special occasions. In more recent years, Mount Panorama has been for fun. It has been for many years the place for racing, for community picnics, the site of romantic encounters, and the venue for concerts. Now, it's become even more important since COVID. For many who have been cooped up in lockdown, Mount Panorama, our hill, has been a place to go and enjoy the views, breathe fresh air, and feel the wind in our hair. It is this new awareness of what a special place our Mount Panorama is that has stirred up the community interest in keeping the top of the hill for everyone and not wanting any sporting activity with buildings, noise and fences, whether it be for go-karts or netball. Imagine what a lovely place a hilltop park would be, to go again beyond the fence that is now a construction site. And we could sit in that picnic shelter and watch the stars or view an eclipse, to walk around in a lovely wooded area and see the views of the surrounding countryside. As an elder, I want our children to have opportunities in all sports, including go-karts. Let us look for another location for a go-kart track and give the Bathurst Kart Club the opportunity to share their sport with the community. Now, it should not be beyond our council to find a way through this. It is possible that the decision about the construction on Mount Panorama can be changed. It is possible to have a go-kart track in Bathurst, and it is possible to have a wonderful park on the top of our hill. It is possible to meet amicably with members of the Kart Club, and it is possible for the councillors who have staunchly supported the track for many years to rethink the idea. I most sincerely ask all councillors to consider a rethink of the construction of the track. It is not urgent. I repeat, it is not urgent. It is a sign of wisdom to be able to change council plans for the benefit of the whole community. And it is a sign of maturity for councillors to be able to change their mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Any other discussion, councillors? Councillor Orban?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It just seems that we get fed a lot of, untruths when it comes to this, people going up to the top of Mount Panorama for peace and tranquility. I mean, the views are not going to change. The only view is going to change is over the south, where you look down over the Waste Management Centre. I mean, your views out over the east are still there, out over the north are still there. This going up for peace and tranquility, I mean, 3 or 4 gun clubs shoot there every week. There's a motocross track that run about 8 meetings a year up there. No one ever talks about that. 200 metres away from where the proposed go-kart track's going. 8 hill climb events that the Bathurst Light Car Club run that use McPhillamy Park for pit area and marshalling area. 5 international race car meetings that have over 30,000 campers up there. I mean, where's your peace and tranquility? It's some weekends you can go up there and there's not an event on, but there's still gun clubs banging off. You can still, car clubs come up and have events that they drive around the circuit and then they have a picnic in McPhillamy Park. Nothing will change. There's the 15 acres that Mr. McPhillamy gave is not being used. That is there for the public to still use. Nothing changes. I mean, these untruths that aren't spoken about they are really annoying. And I think, honestly, 5 years ago we put this through as a DA, and it went through in the chamber 8-0. Okay, 8-0. Sorry, it was Councillor Coote that wasn't here that made the 9. In 2018, it was 7-2. So, I mean, we've really looked at it. It's gone through. I mean, look, how many times has this come in front of council? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in council papers. It's been there. And you say it's not time to do it. It is time to do it. I had pictures here from the Western Advocate back in 2000, 2001 that this same club was looking at building a track down the drive-in side. But, it's the same people. So they're obviously very strong in their resolve to build a track. And this track will bring a lot of people to town. If you go and see the Orange track when they run a major meeting, there is hundreds of people that come to up there. So, I mean, this will be no different. Probably better because it's on top of Mount Panorama. The iconic motor racing track of Australia and probably in the world. I have been around to different tracks around the world, and people look at me and they'll see a circuit outline of Mount Panorama in my shirt, and they know exactly what it is. It's motor racing, and that's where it should be, and that's what goes there. So, nothing else will change. There'll be a kart track, still open spaces.
Thank you, Councillor Orban. Question, Councillor Rudge.
At this particular point in time, we're voting on whether we're going to fund it by 2.25 million and take out a loan. I think that needs to be pointed out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor North.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's exactly right, Councillor Rudge, and previous councillors have gone to what got us here. And I brought it in again, and that's only a quarter of what we've got. I've always worked in here at council based on facts presented to me. We work on the basis that we do our homework, we rely on our staff, we rely on consultants, and we get reports in. Many times in this chamber, it can go 5-4, it can go 9-zip, 7-2, whatever. Councillor Morse, the way you speak, that it must change. We live in a society where people make decisions for their own reasons, for their own information they've got, and they interpret it different. It's never failed to amaze me in all my years here that you can read a report and there could be 5 people read it differently and take different notes out of it. That's just what makes the world go round. We're all different. But, for peace and tranquility, all those sort of things, the simple fact of the matter is facts. It's the most iconic race track in the world. We have looked at other sites. We have done the homework. We have done the reports. It is time to make a decision. Whether you agree with the Mayor, Councillor Morse, again, you were a Mayor of a day and you could have done that. There's a lot of people that become councillors and they don't always know how the code of meeting practice goes and what they can and can't do. No doubt the Mayor has spoken to the General Manager and asked for clarification. Can he do that? Because I've never seen anything in this council where something's been brought up or done that is not to code. Some people believe it's not with code, but we live by rules and laws, policies, procedures, and that's councillors when it comes down to a simple thing. We make decisions based on facts. You can't make it on the heart. You can't. You've got your feeling, and the best thing that I've seen in this chamber with this group of councillors, I don't see a division. I see councillors, 9 councillors prepared to speak their mind, and I think that's great. Because I can leave this chamber and know that whoever has spoken, they've spoken how they feel. It's not whether you're right or wrong, whether you win the debate or lose the debate. You've had the chance to make a decision based on the facts put before you and how you feel. And that's what it comes to this. It's in front of you. It's there to be voted. I didn't realise Councillor Orban was it 12 times. It has been a long time. I don't think there could be any better place to put it on the most iconic racetrack in the world, on land that over, I think 90 or 95% of it was in private ownership. Private ownership, I think, for over 100 years. And yes, there's people put out lovely brochures and says taking over the whole car park. You can say, yes, it has taken over the whole car park when there's an event on, when the supercars are on, when the B2B's been on, Inland Sea of Sound, probably when school events have been up there, little mini rallies and all sorts of things. Certain times it will. But start having a look at our other places around town, when people say it's elitism and all that. If I want to go to a pool, I love swimming, I've got to pay to go in the pool. If that pool's closed, I can't go in. Everyone has a set of rules, guidelines and procedures to follow. That's what we're doing tonight. Make a decision based on facts. The facts are in front of me. I've been living and breathing this one for a long, long time, and I can't see why we don't go ahead of it.
Thank you, Councillor North. Question, Councillor Moss?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Could I please confirm with the General Manager that the Minister for the Environment, Senator Susan Ley, still has not determined on a Section 10. And could you please explain what that Section 10, what is a Section 10?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no determination has been made on the Section 10. We understand that there were, under the Federal Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Heritage Protection Act, that two claims were put in, two under Section 9, which are temporary short-term measures to stop actions occurring, and two Section 10s. The council has seen at least one of the Section 10s. Unfortunately, we've been denied access to the other Section 10, which seems quite strange when it impacts the council land. The one Section 10 we've seen, the Minister appointed an assessor. The assessor then received submissions from all interested parties. Those submissions have all been made. The assessor then prepares a report, which then goes to the department, and then the department looks at that report and then makes a recommendation to the minister. My understanding is that nothing has gone to the minister yet. It is with the department. As to what the decision may or may not be, there's no strict black and white guidelines. You don't know till you get what the decision is. But at this stage, there, from the council's perspective, there are no Section 9 nor Section 10 orders in relation to that area. There's only the applications being made.
Could you confirm, Mr. General Manager, that a Section 10, if it's determined that it can't go ahead, can the Minister actually prevent the go-kart track being built?
Mr. Mayor, I can't preempt what the minister may or may not say. I don't know. I've never been involved with a Section 10, but there obviously must be some wide powers for the minister to be able to operate under the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Heritage Protection Act, because the whole purpose of that is to protect Aboriginal cultural stuff. So presumably there are reasonable powers, but I don't know exactly what they are.
And would it be right, they haven't acted on we've acted on the DA and nothing has come through on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the two Section 9s were taken out, if memory serves, early last year, and they were to be immediate. They allow the minister to either do a 30-day or a 60-day order to prohibit things occurring. Last year, we advised the relevant government department that we were going to commence the DA. And as you know, the council went in and demolished the existing building up on that site, not only the house, but the communications towers. As I said, we notified the department of that, but no Section 9 was placed on council.
Thank you, General Manager. Question, Councillor Fry?
Question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the General Manager. It's public knowledge that we're in receipt of a legal letter from the Wiradjuri Group, which is effectively a cease and desist order. And if we do proceed with the go-kart track, there's a very good chance we end up in the High Court, moving on from that letter. And in the spirit of this minute, Mr. Mayor, where's the legal opinion on the chances of us losing another $5 million in a court case, and where have we budgeted for that $5 million if we lost the court case for destroying the Aboriginal site? And another question for the General Manager is, why was a reconciliation action plan removed from the Council's website?
I'll answer the last question. I'll have to take that on notice. I'm not aware of it having been removed, but we certainly have a reconciliation action plan, and there are only 10 councils in New South Wales that have one. So I think if you look at that and you look at the regular reports that go to council about every 6 months, you'll see extensive commitment into the Aboriginal space. With respect to the letter from the Wiradjuri representative lawyers, that's a letter mainly asking for questions. It does not preempt any legal case at this stage. I could not speculate whether a matter would end up in the High Court, whether it may go through state legislation, and also what the basis of any action there is insufficient in that letter, because I think all of you would have seen it, and basically that letter just reiterated a lot of the facts we know, which are the Section 9 application, Section 10 application. We know there was an application made under the state legislation for an Aboriginal place naming. And at this stage, the council, given the current position I've got, there's no funding, so no works are being taken. My position is if we do go to undertake works because funds become available, then the advice will be provided to the relevant authority, which is the federal government body that overviews the Section 9s and the Section 10s.
One more question.
Question for the Director of Environment Planning Services. The council documents say here that we, our SOE and our 2040 vision, and these documents roughly say that we are here to protect and enhance the region's landscapes, views, vistas, open spaces, natural areas and Aboriginal heritage. And it says in here, in the minute, that we're protecting Aboriginal heritage, strategy 1.1. Could the Director answer how this development would possibly protect Aboriginal heritage? And also, sorry, the other part of the question was, in Council's documents it says the Aboriginal people have suffered a disconnection from Waialoo since colonial times in the 1820s, and for a long time they've had a disconnection, and more recently they've attempted to reconnect with Waialoo, and Council, I'm not sure if it's Council's policy or one of the Director's staff, so they now are embarking on a renewed connection with Waialoo, which is deemed by Council staff as socially significant. So the difference between spiritually significant and socially significant, is that a judgment made by the Director's staff? And do any of them have a PhD in archaeology?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Those comments were, my recollection is that they are in the documents provided by Extent Heritage. They are acknowledged. It wasn't the personal opinion of any individual staff, relied on the input to that process. The first part of your commentary goes to the assessment of the development application. That was informed by the cultural heritage impact documents that were before Council, and they were considered during the assessment process.
Thank you, Director. Yeah, you can.
Just as a follow-up from Councillor Fry's request about the Reconciliation Action Plan, I've just been advised by staff that it is on the web page.
Question, Councillor Morse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to ask the General Manager to confirm that back in 2009, when Bathurst Council attempted to prevent an Aboriginal lands claim on what was the Sir Joseph Banks Nature Park, which was closed by Council, I think in 2009, that Council went through the process of trying to appeal against that, went to the High Court, and we lost. Is it likely that we would lose another court case for destroying this Aboriginal heritage?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I can't answer the question about is it likely to lose a case because we don't have a case in front of us. So therefore, I can't say anything. In terms of the land claim for Sir Joseph Banks Nature Park, that went to the Court of Appeal, and Council lost its appeal against the decision on a 2-1 vote, so it was a split vote. The argument was that the facility had ceased what its use was, and its use was, unfortunately, some people thought that it was there as a fauna reserve. Its gazetted use was as a flora reserve. So therefore, the council was reverting it back to the flora reserve. But yeah, it wasn't High Court, and it was a split decision 2-1. The idea behind it was that the Lands Council were looking at it as a potential location for a cultural centre.
Thank you, General Manager. Question, Councillor Jennings.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Could the General Manager's just summary recap the number of legal issues, regulatory issues or risks of any nature, such as the Section 9s, the Section 10s, threat of legal action actually currently are attached to this DA?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there have been a number of actions connected to this DA that have gone back over a period of time, including formal complaints to OEH about council destroying Aboriginal artefacts. That case and that item was thrown out. There was another case to do with some other Aboriginal artefacts. That item was found once the inquiry was done in council's favour. There was also another site card issued up in that location, which was to preclude any activities occurring. It was found that that site card didn't stop that because it was only put in for something that occurred about 2 years ago. In terms of the other items, the 2 Section 9s were taken out, I understand, early last year. Neither have been actioned. They tend to just sit there. I don't understand how they can sit there because they're emergency provisions, and I don't know how an emergency lasts for a year and a half. The 2 Section 10s are the long-term ones. One of those we know, which is the one we've submitted to. The other Section 10, we have been denied access to the details of that Section 10 claim. There was the claim under the state legislation for Aboriginal place naming. At this stage, that Aboriginal place naming under state legislation has been declined. That doesn't mean that it can't be reactivated like anything else into the future. The advice from the Wiradjuri lawyers is a statement. Whether that actually goes any further, I don't know, but that's one that's potentially open. So I suppose the two main issues would be, in my mind, is whether the Wiradjuri elders seek to take any action and what grounds that action may be. And the Section 10, I don't see any other action in terms of legal, for instance, with the use of McPhillamy Park and that area. There's only a smaller section of it. The majority of it's still open to the public, but certainly the usage of that land for this purpose is okay. And it's all operational land up in that location. And in fact, that area at the time, which is the main one, and we talk about the Lot 1 area, the Lurline McPhillamy area, that was declared operational land when council held an independent review when the new 1993 Act came in for the classification of lands. A lot of councils declared the classification of their lands themselves. Bathurst Regional Council at the time held a separate public inquiry, and out of that, the land at Mount Panorama, those locations were declared operational.
Thank you. General Manager, continue.
Thank you very much for the answer. I mean, given that list, and several of them are ongoing, I would like to know, General Manager can answer this question if he likes, who in their right mind would invest their own personal hard-earned money on a project, a house, or investing in a business or a bit of land which had the same sort of risks attached to it as this does? I'm happy for you to leave that as a rhetorical question. And you can comment if you want to.
The only comment I'd say at this stage, Mr. Mayor, is that all of the things such as the Section 10 and the legal action is only a letter stating that they don't want us to do anything, but there is no legal action. That doesn't mean it won't happen. And the Section 9, Section 10s are open to all sorts of locations. And I think if you decided that every time an order was put on, an application for an order was put on somewhere, and therefore you wouldn't take any action, then you're not going to go anywhere. And I'll use as a good example here that one of the site cards that got registered for Bathurst is for every waterway, billabong, whether flowing or not flowing, 100 metres either side. So if you said that we're going to have problems, then you would basically say you're not going to do any developments within Bathurst anywhere near any of the river streams, as an example.
Thank you.
Yeah, didn't quite answer the bit about would you use your own money, your own hard-earned income, but I wasn't really expecting you to, describe your own financial arrangements and how you would spend them. I cannot imagine a single accountant for any of us in this room or all across Bathurst who would say, yep, go ahead, borrow money against this, pay extra, really sink your teeth into it with the level of risk that are attached to this. And yet that's what we're being asked to do. I mean, think of what the alternatives would be if the TAFE building got $2 million sunk into it. We could secure an anchor tenant there. Rejuvenate. If we need some money going somewhere, it's into the CBD, the Town Square project precinct, the old ambulance station. Start getting the gasworks sorted out. I mean, there is a list of much more higher priority projects, attracting new businesses, new industries to Bathurst. Another question: is there a business case from the Go-Kart Club on the way the go-kart operations will be run?
I couldn't tell you whether there is. They may or may not, but certainly there is not one generated by the council, and that's in line with how we've acted with other sporting groups. Examples such as the Bush Rangers with the clubhouse there, the hockey complex with the when we put in the dry fields and the wet fields down there. Same with the soccer, same with the bike park. So whether they've got one councillor, I couldn't tell you, but certainly it's not normal practice for this council with those sporting type things to do one of those.
So given that in other items, I'm aware that other clubs which do essentially run on a break-even basis as well, where we issue leases to them, also some of them do actually provide a business case, and we have to do due diligence on them, and they go for a tender process, etc. They have a business case. It is possible to have a business case. We're talking about putting $4.5 million of taxpayers' monies and ratepayers' money to something that we don't even know has financial viability or any kind of business case presented. I mean, that just seems like absolute madness to me from a financial management point of view. I'd struggle with it at the best of times just to fund it in due course from grants and the like, but to go out of our way and actually borrow money and increase the cost of it without a business case on how this entity is going to run. Is it the case that the major maintenance for the track ongoing, once hypothetically it was built, would be residing with council?
Can I say firstly, in regards to your comment about other sporting groups having business cases, I'm yet to find one of those. We haven't.
There's one in our papers tonight.
In terms of us funding the items, we don't ask for those. But in terms of sorry, what was the second part of your?
Well, is there a business case?
No.
The major maintenance.
I would expect, as normally happens, minor maintenance, repairs and that are with the club. Major maintenance would rest with the council, as what happens with the hockey courts, although we would ask them to contribute, as what happens with the hockey. The soccer's the same. We put a lot of money into the soccer to upgrade the fields. So that is fair to say that, yes, the major maintenance would be major capital works would be with the council.
I'll take Councillor Rudge first. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have we borrowed 50% of funds for a sporting club of up to $2.25 million before?
Without looking specifically at our borrowing portfolio, we either borrow or we provide the funds ourselves. So there's not, to me, either way, the council providing it, there's not a significant difference between whether it's loans or whether it's out of our cash reserves. In a lot of cases, we would, it often depends on the level of grants. In the case of the go-kart track, we will lend, the council's resolved to have the go-kart club borrow $100,000. That's been approved. But in terms of the other locations, we try and get grants. Normally the council would provide, if you look at the Aussie rules, we provided more than 50%. The soccer facility, we certainly provided a lot more than 50%. The netball, we probably went around 50-50. The cycle park was certainly massively the council funding it. So it varies depending on the project at the time and what's put to council and what the council has determined.
Thank you. What I might do, is there any other councillor who hasn't asked a question like to discuss it first? Councillor Christians.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the General Manager, when can work, if we get this through tonight, when can work commence?
I suppose it depends on a couple of things as to whether the resources are available to utilise it, or whether we would go to tender for those works. Some of the works we would do in-house, particularly given the COVID situation at the moment, to ensure employment of our staff. And then part of it may depend on what the go-kart club may be willing to undertake work. So in theory, next week, if the money's there, but we've got to draw the loan down. The loan takes a little bit of processing to get down. But the design work and that's all been completed.
Yes.
Yeah, so from what I understand, this group, they have 200 members, Mr. Mayor, and they in fact had to pause their membership drive. They're getting a lot of interest, but they've paused it because they don't want to obviously go out there and get members if things fell over here tonight, which I understand. So you could have 500 members, you could have 1,000 members, and this kart club can go along and it can obviously apply for grants down the track to help with different things here and there. Is that right, General Manager?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they can apply for grants in their own right, and currently I am aware that they are applying for grants because the council has provided a letter of support for their grant application.
So I certainly think it's feasible moving forward, and I just think everything's been said. It's not uncommon to borrow money for things like this. We've just heard that through the General Manager. And I think all the debate's been had. It's been given a fair hearing. We've read brief after brief on the matter. I think if certain people want to take us to court, well, that's their prerogative. But we've done our due diligence. So I don't know what they could possibly bring up, but we've ticked all our boxes. We should feel comfortable with that. And I think we should move forward.
Okay. Any other councillor? Okay, I'll leave it later to another quick. Councillor Morse.
Yes, it's just a quick question because the General Manager referred to turning some land at the top of Mount Panorama into operational land. According to documents that have been published and government gazetted, McPhillamy Park, and I guess Mrs McPhillamy Section 2 was listed in the same sentence as McCarthy Park and King's Parade. Now, I would like to be reassured that they can't turn those two areas into operational land. If you can turn McPhillamy Park into operational land, what gives council the right to turn what has been gifted to the city of Bathurst into operational land?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, well, what gives council the right is the law. But besides the law, the land at the front that everyone calls the land bequested by Mr. McPhillamy is Crown land in council's care and control. So therefore, it is not allocated as either operational or community. None of that land is involved in the go-kart track. Then when you come back, if you remember the map, there's those two lots together. The one on, if you're coming in from the gate, on the right-hand side is the land gifted by Lurline McPhillamy. That land was flagged to come to council in 1938. It eventually came to council in 1983. Now, it came in 1983 with the lot beside it. So the two lots were transferred into council's name. The lot on the left-hand side, council paid $7,250 for it based on a valuation undertaken by a valuer. The lot on the right-hand side, the Lurline McPhillamy one, for better of a description, was donated to council having regard to the 1938 proposal. The condition on it was that council had to approve a right-of-way from the McPhillamy Park gates through the Crown land, through the Lurline McPhillamy land, through to where the house was out the back. and that was a condition of that. Now, that land, the Lurline McPhillamy land, the land beside it, were, as part of the 1993 introduction of the new Local Government Act, they were classified as operational, having regard to the public inquiry that was undertaken by the council. So what you've got is Crown land at the front, and then at the back it's all operational.
Okay. I'll take Councillor Jennings first. He was,
Look, I think the fact that, I mean, I've got a lot more questions than I'm going to ask, just illustrates the fact that, you know, doing this with 2 minutes notice is totally inappropriate. Just a quick question, maybe to the Director of Finance or General Manager. What has been the impact of COVID on our budget to date? Where's the current tally sit at?
I would refer back to the mayoral minute in September, and the figure was around $4.2 million at that time. And as part of that mayoral minute, we contracted expenditure in various areas by $2.1 million.
Thank you. Has there been a study, a visitor survey? I take Councillor Orban's points about the use of McPhillamy Park, and I don't think anybody actually has a hard answer for that. Is it correct there's been no visitor survey whatsoever, no assessment of the usage levels of McPhillamy Park?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, none that I'm aware of. Certainly there was a study done in 2003 to look at the whole Mount Panorama precinct and what would go in there. It was done by, I think, Kellogg Brown Root at the time, KBR study, and that looked at the usage of the whole of the of that precinct, and it introduced a number of items. So that's probably the main study. There was one done about 10 years before that, but the most recent, I think, is about 2003, the KBR study.
I'll go Councillor Fry.
Firstly, apologies, General Manager. I just found that plan on the website, the reconciliation. I just couldn't find it this afternoon. Sorry. The question is, has any of council staff lodged a non-pecuniary interest form in relation to the go-kart track?
No, they haven't.
Councillor Christians? No, you're right. Is there any more, Councillor?
One last point. One of the things, so General Manager mentioned that the kart club itself is expected to contribute $100,000 or take out a loan with council. When I remember this coming through originally, that was to me $100,000 against an approximate cost, and this, I'm just going from memory, but I seem to recall way back when it was originally approved, the cost of this thing was set at about 1.1 million, and it was expected to maybe go up a bit with an estimate of about, say, 1.5 million. Given that the cost has blown out 400%, does that still stay the same as the $100,000 loan, or is it a proportional thing, or how does that work? And I mean, I think that is a major factor in this too, that the actual whole cost has just gone from what was, well, it seemed quite expensive to me at the time for 1.1. I thought fair enough, and if we don't have any protests from the community and the like, then let it go. But at $4.5 million, it's a pretty big investment with massive ongoing major maintenance costs. I mean, this is basically setting up a huge loss-making exercise for a community club, which is of a different and unique nature than a tennis club or a soccer club or a hockey club or a football club, which have teams and teams of people, teams of them. It is a completely different entity to, for example, a museum, but it costs the same amount. Back to the question, is the loan going to stay at 100,000, given that the price is now 4.5 million for the club?
Well, at this stage, that's what the council resolution is that I've got, is for 100,000. I've got no other council resolution seeking any additional funds, and so no discussion has been held. No, no.
Any other questions? Okay, Council. So I'll just say that, we've had a bit of discussion here, and look, and over the last 20 years of discussing this go-kart club, things have got to come to an end. We just cannot continue to keep going down, in the community, talking about it all the time. Something has to be done. It's been 5 years since this DA was acted upon. It needs to be built. They've got loans for different other facilities, as the general manager has pointed out, and it's all there in the report where the community can go and see that what we have done for hockey, football, all those communities. We do assist them, and we're going to try and assist this go-kart club get up and running, and they will have a lot of members in the end, and it will be a great facility. It's a racing precinct up there that it's going to. I take consideration to Councillor Rudge saying, the short notice of this, but we have to resolve this matter sooner than later. I've gave you all enough time to discuss it around the table here. I will still continue to take the questions and get them answered, but we cannot be just divided over this in the community. We've got to make a decision. We've made decisions before in the community on what we do. That's why we are councillors, here to make decisions, not to be arguing with community groups or other individuals. They have plenty of time to discuss that with us, but we're here to make decisions and move on. So I'm going to give you one more chance if you just want to speak on it. If not, I'm going to put the motion. Councillor Jennings.
Can we add one more point, point 4, that council borrow $5 million to activate the TAFE building?
No. Councillor Fry.
Last question. All the community groups that we had to not fund this year under Section 356, whatever it was. So we had 30 groups miss out on funding this year. Another big list of community projects are there waiting, sitting in the waiting, and they've been around as long as the go-kart track, some of them, these other community groups. So are we going to, with this, put this much effort and borrow money to help all those other community groups that have missed out on funding to date? And why is the go-kart track a special case?
Well, I don't think the go-kart track is a special case. As I said, there's been football fields, hockey fields, a lot of other things. They're all in those reports. And as a councillor that's been here for 17 years and a few of others, we have supported a lot of them groups. And this is one way that I put this mayoral minute up here to resolve this matter as a council. Question, Councillor North?
To Mayor, the General Manager, it was the Land Council that sought to get Sir Joseph Banks Park, and when that was done, as I said, the question was that they wanted for potential cultural centre. Was there any other claims on that it was any special land, sacred land, as part of that application for that Sir Joseph Banks?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know what was in the application, but I have seen a letter that relates to it, and the letter from the government department referred to them seeking it for an Aboriginal cultural centre.
I'll tell you the answer. I thought you knew because I spoke to them and they wanted it for that, and it was not special land. Was it also the Lands Council that sought the naming of Mount Panorama Walu?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it was the Lands Council that first talked to the council about the dual naming.
The Mayor spoke about being in council many years, as I have and a number of councillors here have. Up until about 2018, had we seen any level of conflict with the Aboriginal people, with land that we had, with building we were doing up at the Mount, from radio shacks to toilet blocks to playgrounds? Did we have any action that it was sacred ground or anything put on us at those times?
Look, I think it's fair to say that the Wiradjuri elders, who've probably been most active with us since around 2014, 2015, I think have always indicated that they felt an affinity for that location. I mean, that's part of the reason why we went down the path of doing an Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Assessment. And that assessment has found that, yes, there is some significance up there, but subject to XYZ, you can put the go-kart track up there.
You've sort of taken a little bit of thunder there. So if this was to go to a court case, as Councillor Fry said, with these documents that we as councillors have read, and I'm sure you've read plenty of times as I have, and spoken to different Aboriginal groups and individuals, with the documents and the outcomes of those where in claims that were made that have been answered, would that document be able to be out in the public so people could see and read what we see and read?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they perhaps would be subpoenaed into any court case if there was one. Certainly, we would provide the documentation to our lawyers for action, but in terms of releasing those studies into the public domain, that is not something that the council can do, because the reason they're in-house is to ensure the protection of any Aboriginal artefacts or significant things are preserved. In saying that, though, I mean, the Aboriginal parties may be quite happy to release those documents because they're the parties that are concerned in terms of particularly the elders with the knowledge and the knowledge of country. And so they may choose to release them, but we certainly, from our perspective, would release them through the lawyers. We certainly put them through for the Section 10 claims and advise for the Section 10 that they should be treated, from our perspective, confidentially. As to whether the assessor kept them confidential, I don't know.
In question, we talked about proportionally as money that I believe when we first spoke about the cycle park, and I was a big push on that land and that there now is, when it's fully completed, we could be talking $10 or $11 million, and it's a $100,000 loan, because we have cycling groups in town to provide a facility that would have had another World Championship round this year, has had a World Championship. So these facilities, when we build them, have turned an incredible profit back to the community, not council, the community, when we've built these facilities that proportionally to the groups that run them, volunteers that run them, multi-million dollars to a facility. And our rugby league, did we not spend a lot of money there for the NRL, which I believe it helped us to get a longer contract with the Panthers, gave the Panthers on the weekend, that we now have a contract with the Panthers for, I think it was another 10 years, because we provided a facility that we've pumped a lot of money into, that also allowed us to run a concert for Elton John. Is that correct? These facilities have allowed to have world-class events on?
Yes, the condition of the facilities, and depending what you build them for, facilitates. The council's general practice has been, in the time that I've been general manager, that we build facilities to ideally take international events, but at least state and national. And so that was part of the reasoning why the variation to the go-kart track came up when it did, because the original one was for local events, and having regard to the council's desire to be able to attract national, international, the scope was changed and the DA was modified.
And one final question here, when we opened up our Olympic, I think it was classed as Olympic standard BMX track, I think the first major event there we had, was it 10,000? Now, anyone who wants to do the maths, $250 a night, I think it was 3 nights, but we'll say 2. Pretty good money well spent. And the other question is not our job as council that we need to talk to all groups, all Aboriginal groups and individuals about their feelings about the matter. One group doesn't, to my understanding, hold sway that everything they say is correct and everyone else is wrong, because there is conflicts out here. Is that not correct, Mr. General Manager, within the Aboriginal community, that quite a number do not see the significance that this group sees?
I Yeah, I think it's fair enough to say that there is conflict, but in saying that, when you're dealing with Aboriginal groups, you need to be aware of what different groups can speak for. And so, therefore, from a council point of view, we do work with the traditional elders. And we've regularly having meetings with them. And it's fair to say on some things we agree with and on others we don't agree with. But the discussions are always fruitful because we can get together. The Lands Council, we generally have regular discussions with them. And then if there are any other Aboriginal groups, and the Mayor has just been liaising with another group and we've met with them. So it's like dealing with the whole of our community. The village groups and everything, trying to contact them so that at least we can be informed in the decision-making process. And then in the end, the decision-making process is one for the council.
I'll take Councillor Christian.
Just a simple and straightforward question, but I really feel like we need to get back on track. Mr. Mayor, is it right that we're discussing the funding of $2.25 million for the construction of the go-kart track at Mount Panorama, and the council funds be sourced by way of a loan in the years 2020, 2021, and to continue to seek grants and other funding sources for the balance of $2.25 million required for the go-kart track? Is that what we're discussing tonight?
Yes.
Then I don't understand why we're going around in circles and debating things that have been debated for the last 5 years. Why are we bringing up the location? Why are we bringing up any of this other stuff? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not in the spirit of the report.
Well, Councillor Christian, I'm giving everyone the opportunity to discuss it openly, and that's what's happening here.
Well, can I stand here and start talking about a complete new other site, and we can start talking about a complete new location, or are we going to stick to the fact that we're talking about funding this? We have to keep this conversation on track. Everyone can stand up and grandstand about how they feel about it, Mr. Mayor, but the reality is we're discussing the funding. We're going so far off track just to get a headline for some people. Let's get back on track and let's make a bloody decision.
Thank you, Councillor Christian. Councillor Rudge.
Question through you, Mr. Mayor. Some of those wonderful sporting facilities that we do have, Deputy Mayor, was that in a mayoral minute just prior to a meeting where you made the decision on the fact that you're going to borrow 50% of the funding to get that up and running?
Well, there is one now. Okay. It's not getting out. Councillor Warburton. You're right. Councillor North again.
Yeah, final question, I'll make it that. We as councillors recently, I think, did the course we had to do online every 2 years to understand the way we handle matters of the Aboriginal people, their culture, special events, and how we handle it. And I think every councillor here that's done that. Question is that we as a council, Mr. General Manager, continue to work within the guise of working with all community groups to come to a satisfactory outcome. And that sometimes means that we're not always going to agree. Would that be correct?
That's fair enough to say, yes.
Okay. To Councillor Rudge, we have discussed this many a times here, over a lot of times. Is it funding by grants? That was brought up. We didn't have a lot of discussion on that. It was brought up that night to be done by grants. I feel that a mayoral minute is here now so to resolve this matter, and that's the reason the mayoral minute is here now. I've gave you enough discussion to go around here on numerous occasions here tonight, and I'll keep it open if you need any more answers. If not, I'm going to put the motion. I'll give you one more go ahead there, Councillor Bro.
Mr. Mayor, through you, that we do fund a lot of sporting clubs, absolutely, and I completely support sporting clubs. They're great things in the city. Normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're pretty sure of getting matching government grants before we go and borrow the extra, say, 50% for that sporting club. And my knowledge that we usually have half of that money guaranteed, and then we go and borrow the other half. And then it's my understanding, if we build an infrastructure like a footy shed or something, that they pay fees. They pay weekly fees. It goes towards council's maintenance, the paying back of the loan, the paying the rent of the shed, all the outgoings. So is there a financial plan that shows a cost benefit for taxpayers and ratepayers for the go-kart track, income-wise? And what schedule of fees will the club members pay back to council in the same way other sporting clubs pay council back over long-term loans for their facilities that we build?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of long-term loan, the repayments will be in accordance with the report that went to council that the council has adopted a number of years ago. And that report says that they will borrow 100,000 at X% rate, which is based on what we're borrowing. So that covers that. The second issue with respect to the fees and charges that the sporting groups pay in terms of maintenance, that's for when we're doing maintenance. And normally there's a set figure put into the council business paper each year. And if you remember the last mayoral minute, we waived a number of those. Now, if the go-kart group maintain that site, like mowing and that, well, then there's no council costs, so therefore they don't pay anything. If we have to go and do it, then we would be charging an allocation to them. In terms of the lease agreement, and that's an item which I won't go into massively because you've got that for further discussion, but the lease fee is consistent with the fee that we charge to other community sporting groups who lease facilities from us.
Okay, councillors, is all finished? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Now we'll go to item number 8, receive and deal with general managers and director reports. Council, now we go to the general managers report number 1, regional planning panel delegates. The mover and a seconder.
Could I move a motion that the current structure of the mayor with the general manager and our current alternative, Councillor Morse, to stay on, if she's so willing?
I have a mover and a seconder for that. Council. Yeah, read that out, please, general manager.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just read out the what's been moved that I understand. That Council A appoint the Mayor, General Manager as its delegates to the Western Region Planning Panel, with Councillor Morse as the alternate delegate, and advise the Secretariat of the Western Regional Planning Panel of these appointments.
Thank you. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Director of Environmental and Planning and Building Services. Item number 1, section 4.15 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. I have a move and a second. Councillor Christian, Councillor North. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion, then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Go to item number 2, the general report. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rudge, Councillor Christians. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item number 3, development application 2020 2020 and stroke 280, demolition of an existing dwelling, 145 Avena Street. Could I please have a move and a second with Councillor North? Councillor Morse. Any discussion? No discussion. Then I call it as a division. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Development application 2020 stroke 212, construction of a 2-storey dwelling, Cane Drive, Kelso. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Christians, Councillor Rudge. Any discussion? I call a division. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Director of Corporate Services and Finance report, statement of investments. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Christian, Councillor Orban. Any discussion? There's no discussion, then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. The monthly review, delivery plan. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Christian, Councillor North. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll put the motion. Carried. Section number 3, sundry section 356 donations. I move in a second. Councillor North, Councillor Jennings. Any discussion? There's no discussion. Then I put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Power of attorney. Could I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rudge, Councillor Christians. Any discussion? No discussion. Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 5, renewal of sporting and recreation licence, Park Lot 1 DPP, located at McPhillamy Park, Mount Panorama, Bathurst Go Kart Club. I move in a seconder. Councillor Orban, Councillor North. Any discussion? Councillor Morse.
Yes, there are a couple of questions on that, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm not sure whether council has the is able to have a sporting agreement over land which was donated to the city of Bathurst, which is the lot 1 that the general manager was talking about. Is it possible to do that, to have council lease part of land that was given to council, given to the city of Bathurst, to a private club? Is that allowable?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Thank you, Councillor Morse, and thank you, General Manager. Is there any more discussion? Councillor Jennings.
Just a question. Is there any idea what the dollar value is of the land of McPhillamy Park adjacent to the boundary of the go-kart track?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we haven't undertaken that exercise, but it would be available.
Any estimates per square metre?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, I would suggest that it wouldn't be unreasonable in any kind of cost-benefit analysis to have the impact on that area of land factored into the costs of the proposed go-kart track, and whatever that is per square metre over that area, I'm sure would add a significant amount, particularly given the strategic nature of that land. Potentially add millions of dollars to the actual cost side of that ledger. Would it be possible, I asked the question before, has any monitoring been done, and particularly recently in terms of survey of usage of McPhillamy Park? Would it be possible to have some kind of study done, traffic study, visitation study, frequency, volume of numbers, time of stay, that sort of stuff?
I think we're good.
It's possible. Council would need to vote the funds to be able to do it, though. I haven't got the resources to undertake the study.
Running out of resources, and we're just borrowing $2.5 million. No money in the bank, though.
Excuse me, councillor, can I just point out what I said is I don't have the resources in terms of staffing, and I said if you wanted it, then you'd need to vote the funds.
Well, I'd suggest that maybe that it could come out of some of those funds that have just been voted on to be borrowed. So, could there be a survey done? Is it something we can do in the next 6 months? Put up a motion, some kind of it's land directly affected by these lots, the use of these lots. I'd like to see something put forward and done on it as soon as possible, because if this go-kart track was to fail in the longer run as a project for whatever reason, it stands to waste monumental amounts of ratepayers and taxpayers' money. And doing the due diligence beforehand is, particularly on the finances, I mean, that's just a no-brainer. It's just standard operating procedure, or it should be. So can we have, in the short term, some kind of commitment to doing a visitor survey on McPhillamy Park?
If the council resolves to appoint the funds for it to be undertaken, then yes, but it's a matter for the council to make that decision.
Councillor Christian.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong. Have we voted on the go-kart track to go ahead in its current position?
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but only a couple of moments ago, did we not vote to fund $2.25 million towards the go-kart development?
Yes.
So what are we talking about surveys for?
I'll let Councillor Jennings.
Well, the reason is because the due diligence was not done in the original DA. That is the reality. Now, that is something that is at fault at both staff and councillors at the time, in hindsight. Nobody came forward and says that park was of particular value and that the go-kart track should not go ahead. Totally accept that. But they're coming forward now. And so the value to that, to the community of that space, of that high priority community public land, needs to be factored into the decision making of this DA proposal, and it affects, you know, this lease and this arrangement that we're talking about now.
So
Hence, it's relevant.
So back at that time, were you a councillor asked that question?
No, I didn't, and I totally accept that I didn't, and no one else did, and no one from the community asked that. But they're asking that now. It's not our job to ignore the community. It's our job to listen to the community.
But that DA has been acted upon already.
Yeah, well, and people are getting vocal about it now. That's right. And there has been no due diligence done on the value of that land, of that public space to the broader community. No one in this room can give a handle, a reliable factual estimate of the value, quantitative, qualitative, any other, as to how much that parkland gets used and what the disturbance levels will be from a go-kart track butting up right against it.
I'll take Councillor Morse first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The map that's been attached to our papers for tonight show the design of the go-kart track, which was agreed on the 19th of December 2018. However, when the original lease was agreed to in November 2015, the plan that had been submitted and adopted by council was one that was absolutely all of the go-kart track was behind the fence that's there now. None of it encroached upon the land, which is the McPhillamy Parkland. Now, the map that we've all got is not the map, the diagram that was approved when the original lease was signed. And it bothers me that we're going to renew a lease for something which was not what it was originally intended for. The original go-kart track was right behind the fence. It did not take up McPhillamy Park. It did not have two-storey buildings. It did not deny us access to walk our dogs around the 3 water tanks. That is not the actual map that was agreed to in the original lease. Now, I don't know whether you need to go back and change it to this map, which could be done, but I don't think it's satisfactory that we renew a lease for a design that was not agreed to in the first place. Should it be a new lease?
The director needs to answer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Morse is correct in the sense that the map that you see before you wasn't attached to the report that was considered by Council in 2015. However, the report, and if you want to go back and look at the records, there was no map attached to that particular report. The footprint of the go-kart facility has not changed. The report that is being presented for you tonight is consistent with the lot and DPs and the land area that was considered by Council at that particular time. Councillor Morse is correct in that the track proper itself has changed. However, the new proposed area, the area that was modified and approved in the DA in 2018, please correct me if I'm wrong, the footprint is consistent from a leasing perspective. But yes, the DA map is different, but from a lease perspective, what was awarded as a lease back then and what is being proposed tonight, the footprint is still the same.
I beg to differ about that because I've sent
You've got a question, Councillor Morse?
Well, I would like to know if the Director of Corporate Services has actually looked at the overlay of the original track and where it actually prevents the public from going around and walking the dogs and having picnics, and a lot of people do that now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Christian. Councillor A question, Councillor Jennings?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I touched on before that whether or not due diligence has been done by Bathurst Regional Council on the lease arrangement with the Bathurst Go-Kart Club, and General Manager advised that this is exactly the same sort of arrangement we have with other sporting clubs, and I don't doubt that for a moment, but we also have arrangements with sporting clubs whereby, for example, the leasee has to demonstrate previous experience in the management, operation and maintenance of a similar sporting facility or commercial community purpose, provision of a business plan, evidence of financial position to demonstrate financial viability, including but not limited to a copy of the most recent audited financial reports, a couple of referees. So we're not doing any of that for this, are we? Despite the fact it's worth $4.5 million.
No, we're not. And I have to draw your attention that what you've got is a significantly different proposal than the one you're alluding to later on in the business paper. The one later on in the business paper is private individuals going to run one of our facilities, and that's been asked. What I'm saying, and so it was a decision for the council, what is being asked of the Go-Kart Club is consistent and no different to the way that we've handled the rugby league clubs, the hockey clubs, the gun clubs. The one that you're talking later on is private individuals leasing, and therefore it is seen as a different operation. Now, if the council wished us to implement that process into the go-kart, that's no problems. But at this stage, what we've actioned is the way we've always actioned those groups.
There is one minor difference. It costs about $20 to buy a football or a soccer ball, those other things. It costs $20,000 to buy a brand new go-kart and send it around a track.
Okay, Councillor Fry.
A question to the Director of Engineering. We had some figures here in previous months that the count of tourists driving around Mount Panorama is about 750 a day pre-COVID, and it's according to the Visitor Information Centre of Bathurst and Orange that visitation rate has gone through the roof because people can't go for holidays elsewhere or overseas. So it's fair to say, or would it be fair to say, that there could be 1,000 cars a day going around Mount Panorama, and we have a camera on the gates of McPhillamy Park. Would it be a simple exercise to just work out how many people visit that park per day that are tourists that come to an iconic spot, the most iconic spot in the whole Bathurst Basin, to look at the view,
No, I'll let him continue. I'll take the point of order. What is it?
Well, again, I mean, we need to take control of proceedings here this afternoon. We're talking about the lease agreement. Why are we talking about surveys that Councillor Jennings has had 5 years to do, hasn't done it? Why now are we talking about visitation rates and cameras catching visitors up on top of the mount?
Yeah.
Well, why are we having these discussions? It's off topic. We need to get back to what we're talking about.
I'll take clearly, what is it, Councillor Fry, that you're asking?
We're talking about money, and we sit in here to judge.
Well, Councillor Fry, there's already, no one's stopping anyone going into McPhillamy Park.
Just saying,
okay?
If someone's getting probably our most valuable piece of real estate for $550 a year, well, why don't we rent it to someone else and get more money out of it, like a cafe or something?
Councillor Fry, previously you've been here when you wanted to support the go-kart track. You had a motion before to put in to move the go-kart track. You were supportive of a go-kart track. So what are you trying to say?
I'm saying move it somewhere else where we can make more money by just having tourists up there instead of discouraging tourists. That's the financial case I'm making. So move it to a place where everyone wants it.
I think we'll
Pretty simple, mate.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Councillor Orban.
And on the radio this afternoon, you said the go-kart track was a waste of money. So are you going to move it and still say it's a waste of money? I don't get you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Variation to fees and revenue policy, sale of cats. Could I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor North and Councillor Hanger. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Excuse me, councillors. I put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Director Engineering and Services report. Asset management plan. Mover and a seconder.
Mr. Mayor, just before you move that, there was an email that went out to councillors, but you may not have all got it. On page 46 of 76, the table of the asset management plans, the line for the sewer, where it's got 8,714,000, that should read nil. And the column beside it, where the 479,000 is, should read nil. That alters the total at the bottom of the funding gap to 5892705, and the backlog figure 43689,989. I'm sorry, councillors, a mistake was just made with those figures.
Thank you, General Manager. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Hanger, Councillor Christians. Is there any discussion?
Can I just ask a question? How come there's no backlog in the sewer? I find that hard to understand.
Well, I think I can understand backlog in the sewer.
Through Mr. Mayor, the original mistake was made in the coding of the extraction of the data from our asset management system, so that's my responsibility. Apologies. The reason why there is no sewer backlog is that it's essentially a self-funded service, and the rates charged are satisfactory to fund that area.
I've had a mover and a seconder. You would like to discuss it, Councillor Morse?
I would like to commend the Department of Engineering on this incredible amount of work that has to go into this. I hope they're not going to test us on this at the end of it, but it is the most amazing amount of work, which shows just what we own, what we should be doing, what we're not doing, what we need money for. So can I congratulate the Department of Engineering on the production of this document?
Thank you, Councillor Morse. I'll just get the General Manager to read it out.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I could just get the councillors to agree, I think rather than putting it as provided in the report, it'd be that council place the asset management plans, list all of the asset management plans that are there on public exhibition, so that at a later date, if someone's trying to trace back through the minutes, so it just specifies the plans rather than as, yeah.
Okay, is there any more discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 2, unconstructed council roads at Hill End. Councillor North, Councillor Christians. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 3, easement, lot 300 DP, 23 Zagreb Street, Kelso. Moving to second, Councillor North, Councillor Hanger. Is there any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 4, water security update. Could I please have a mover and a second? Councillor Christian, Councillor Orban. Any discussion? There's no discussion. Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Now we go to the Director of Cultural and Community Services report, Kelso Community Hub, Parks and Leisure Australia Award and general update. Could I please have a mover and a second? Councillor Hanger, Councillor North. Any discussion? Councillor Hanger.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, can I just, as Councillor Morse just spoke about this wonderful document that we've got here, congratulate the Director and the team on this Parks and Leisure Award for the hub playground out there at Kelso. It really is a magnificent spot, and anybody who hasn't been there should go out and just have a look at it. So absolutely big round of applause for that one.
Yes, thank you, Councillor North. I fully agree. Councillor Christians.
Yeah, look, it is such a valuable asset for the community out there at Kelso, and it's just shown by the fact that the community out there respect it. They love it. It's going gangbusters, and yeah, look, couldn't ask for anything better. So congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 2, Bathurst Community Safety Plan, progress report. Moving to second, Councillor Rudge, Councillor North. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rudge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Councillor North and I, part of this group. We've achieved a lot with the community safety group. The group takes preventative approach to crime within the Bathurst Regional LGA. I would like to say that out at the Kelso Hub, you now have a red bench, which is part of the community safety plan, which is excellent. Thank you for that. Very proud to say that we have been working in a preventative approach to crime. We've got we coordinate with a lot of people. We've got a number of key stakeholders. We've got community health, drug and alcohol service, the Bathurst Liquor Accord, Business Chamber, TAFE, Neighbourhood Centre, Headspace, PCYC. We all come together as a group and we come up with strategies and ideas on what we feel that the community are suffering as far as theft, malicious damage, steal from motor vehicle, domestic violence, break and enter. And all of these people come together and there's extensive statistical research and consultation undertaken to determine the community's key safety concerns. And I'm very proud to say that we are moving forward with this group. Avoid being scammed for tips for seniors, which is a huge thing at the moment, particularly during COVID. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm receiving so many emails and they're getting better at it. So we really need to make people aware of what sort of emails they're getting through that looks like a telephone account or it looks like an electricity account and people open it or respond to it to pay. We've also, next priority will be break and enter. I noticed in the newspaper today that break and enter is up 50% in the last couple of months. So that is a real concern. So this is a really timely campaign to get up and going in Bathurst. And we also received a grant to the value of $39,544, which will assist us in the development of that public awareness campaign. So I hate to say it, it's happening out there, it's prevalent, we all know it is happening, and this is coming at a good time, particularly with Christmas coming up, Easter, I don't know what time of the year it is. So I think the committee delivers lots of really valuable campaigns and we do focus on crimes, and I think it's congratulations to everyone involved. And yeah, I think we've had a really good year, and we've had a lot of good feedback from people within the community, and that's what it's all about. It's a community effort, and we like to hear back from people, and we like to hear back from people on what they expect from us and what we'd like to do, what they would like us to do. So I'd like to congratulate Mr. Cattermole and his staff on doing what they do in this regard. So look out for the next break and enter dwelling campaign, and get behind us and try and help and support us as much as you possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roach. Councillor Christian.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the CBD CCTV scheme, which was an election promise of mine coming in to council in 2017. It's the biggest investment in community safety, I think, in Bathurst history. It's absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. It's the best technology. It's absolutely brilliant, and everybody in Bathurst should be really, really happy that that's there for their personal security. I'd like to congratulate the Deputy Mayor who's pushed the issue for such a long time and fought for that issue, and I'd like to congratulate all my fellow councillors and the Mayor for getting behind us making sure this becomes a reality. It's so impressive. I'm reading here 19 cameras that cover almost 5,000 metres of footpath across the CBD. It's substantial, and it took a little bit of time getting in there, but I'll tell you what, the wait was worth it. It is absolutely phenomenal.
I agree, Councillor Christian. Thank you. Councillor Morse.
Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work because the lights on Strottis Lane going down to the what we call the new shopping centre were really trashed, and they're apparently very expensive lights, but the CCTV is on the TAFE building and it doesn't actually see what was happening down there. I think there's been damaged twice now and costing council a lot of money. And I've been contacted by a ratepayer who said, why didn't the CCTV actually capture the culprits, and is it costing us so much money, which it is.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Councillor North.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Roger. I know you've done a hell of a lot of work with this committee. But look, something that I think the biggest thing that we can take out of these sort of committees is I think we've all had things occur to us at various times in different ways. But the other day I turned up at a gentleman's place to do his lawn, and he was telling me how his car, and I hadn't heard of this before, his number plates were taken. They decided to wreck a couple of his side mirrors. And one of the biggest things I see when you're talking to more and more people about it is, and he reported straight away, is always encourage people to report it, because we need the figures to be able to isolate what's going on. And he then introduced me to his neighbour, and she'd said that I think 2 of her children's cars had been vandalised, and it sounded like it might relate at certain times of the years with events that might be around the mount or different activities that younger people enjoy. If we keep reporting it, keep understanding what's going on, we might say, okay, William Street, for whatever reason, we might go out of a CBD and have some cameras up there, because, the CBD, and this is the whole thing with the CCTV and everything we do with crime prevention, is that we need to continually listen to what's going on. If we encourage people to keep reporting what's going on, how minor it is, it might mean that, as Councillor Morse suggested there, a better positioned camera into the future could be handy. And we don't always get it right every time, but the cameras are in place. They're doing a wonderful job. But let's keep reporting. Let's keep working and supporting the various groups out there. And my colleague next to me with his day-to-day job, any information they can get to do their job helps them. So well done. All the campaigns of his committee has been wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor North. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 3, create New South Wales funding for Bathurst Regional Art Gallery. Could I have a move in a second? Councillor Jennings, Councillor Orban. Any discussion? No discussion. Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 4, Bathurst Regional Art Gallery, Braggs, managing council collections. A mover and a second. Councillor Rudge, Councillor North. Any discussion? No discussion. Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 9, reports of other committees. Item number 1, the Traffic Committee. I have a mover and a second. Councillor Morse, are you right?
No, I just realised I didn't drink something with you.
Councillor Orban and Councillor Moore. Councillor Orban, Councillor North. Any discussion? No discussion. Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. There's no notice of motions. There's no rescission motions. We go to item number 12, Councillors' Delegate Reports. A mover and a second. Councillor Christian, Councillor Hanger. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. Item number 2, Bathurst War Memorial Korean. Councillor Morse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me, I've got to get a second. Councillor.
No. I would like to ask the General Manager to I've provided him with an alternate recommendation, which was agreed to with the assistance of the Director of Corporate Services, but unfortunately I forgot to bring my copy. So can I please ask the General Manager to oblige me? Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you. All right. I'll read it out. It is only minor adjusting a recommendation that the new top octave of bells in the Bathurst War Memorial Carillion be named the Peace Bells. That Council note the intention to install the clavier on the higher floor of the Carillion Tower. That Council support a ceremony for the dedication of the completed Carillion. And that Council host a meeting of the Carillion Society of Australia in March 2021. Thank you very much, Director.
A question first before I get a seconder.
Could Councillor Morse explain what you mean, the intention on taking away the clear that it will be? Is there an issue that maybe it can't go there? What's the reasoning behind it?
There was some considerable discussion about that. The two experts that are working in the Carillion at the moment are two representatives of Taylor's Bells. And the president of the Carillion Society in Australia, who's Lynn Fuller, asked only recently that the clavier be installed, that's the instrument which actually plays the bells, go on the higher floor. And it actually wasn't discussed for many years. It was just assumed it would go on the first floor. This new proposal to put it on the top floor caused a great deal of discussion, a great deal of consternation about funding. So at the time of the writing of this report, originally I'd said approve the installation, but it was suggested that in fact that we note that is where it's going. It is not up to us really to approve the installation on the top floor. So we're noting that it is going on the top floor.
I need a seconder for this now. Councillor Jennings. Okay. Would you like to read it out, General Manager?
Higher floor, yeah.
Would you like the General Manager to read that out? Councillor Morse.
Okay, the resolution proposed is that the new top octave of bells in the Bathurst War Memorial Carillion be named the Peace Bells. B, that Council note the intention to install the clavier on the higher floor of the Carillion Tower. C, that Council support a ceremony for the dedication of the completed Carillion. And D, that Council host a meeting of the Carillion Society of Australia in March 2021.
Okay, is there any discussion, Councillor? Councillor Morse?
I'd like to talk about it because it's actually since 1938, it's actually going to be finished as a proper Carillion played by a proper clavier. So Council should be very proud of its fully functioning Carillion. There's two people working from Taylor's. The actual big instrument will go up tomorrow morning with the help of Tableland Builders. So it's a very exciting phase. Hopefully by the beginning of November, you can actually hear what has been described as one of the best Carillions in Australia. We have 47 bells. They were paid for originally by subscriptions from all the villages. We've raised money since then from community contributions and from state and federal grants. And we have worked with the Trust and with the RSL and with the people who've raised the money. It's very exciting. There will be a testing day probably at the beginning of November when you can actually hear what happens, but the actual launch will be next year when the Council can work with Bathurst RSL to host a particularly special ceremony. The Carillion Society of Australia is very keen to come up in March and play what they regard as one of the best Carillions in Australia. It's a war memorial Carillion. The Canberra Carillion is not a war memorial, so ours is particularly special. It will be welcomed by the people who play the Carillion in Australia and overseas, and we are having 5 Carillionists trained in Australia. So hopefully over the next couple of, trained in Bathurst, I'm sorry, we got 5 in Bathurst. Hopefully in the next couple of years they will be really up to speed and actually playing our wonderful instrument. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Is there any more discussion? Councillor Hanger?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, can I just add on page 73 of 76 the significant contribution in kind by Tablelands Builders. They're doing a lot of work there, and in kind, it's magnificent, and this will be fantastic. And could I also compliment and applaud the work that over many years that Councillor Morse has done. There's been some highs, there's been some lows, there's even been tears. But no, not mine. But congratulations to Councillor Morse for pursuing this, and also the trust. I mean, a lot of money was raised in the past, and there are some people who in another time, another place will be thanked for that. But congratulations, and very well done, and we look forward to hear the testing day with much anticipation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hanger. Is there any more discussion, councillors? Councillor North?
Yeah, just a question. Now that after all this time, Macrillion's finally going to have its Clavia and it can be played, will it be on special events? What's the process with it? Like, you know, it's always nice when you hear the bells and they are playing. Does it mean that it will be able to be used a lot more often and special events and, you know, what Councillor Moore said, it'd be nice to think we've got some more people in Australia that can do it and come and use it.
Councillor
I
Morse?
answer that, Mr Mayor, because it's quite interesting. Once the whole thing is finished, although the Carillion Tower and the contents will be a council asset, there's a group set up called the Friends of the Bathurst War Memorial Carillion, who will look after the playing of it. And we will develop a protocol for the playing of it. And yes, let's have it played. There's also an electronic tune maker in there, which we can play other tunes just electronically. Obviously, it's the town clock. You can't play music between, you know, when it's 11 or 11:15 or whatever. But the Friends of the Bathurst War Memorial Carillion will be, we're supervising the training and we're supervising the playing, which we hope will happen lots and lots and lots.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Any more discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item number 13, we resolved to go into confidential committee of a whole to deal with confidential reports. Could I please have a movement to Councillor North, Councillor Christians? Is there any member of the public and press who wish to make representation to council? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Could, yeah. Recording off there, please.
Mr Mayor, the council has just met in closed session and has made the following recommendations to council. With respect to the community lease agreement for the unit at 1/55 Seymour Street, that council approves entering into a community lease agreement for part lot 180 DP 862410 at unit 155 Seymour Street, Bathurst, with Australian Unity Home Care Services Proprietary Limited for a period of 2 years with an option period of 2 years as detailed in the report. The second item is to do with the operation and expression of interest for the Bathurst Tennis Centre, and it is proposed that council approves entering into a lease agreement with Mr Andrew Mitten and Mrs Frances Mitten for part lot 10 DP 1157553, part lot 100 DP 1255393, and part lot 7006 DP 105 7676, known as the Bathurst Tennis Centre, located at 261 Durham Street, Bathurst, for a period of 5 years as detailed in this report. The third item, which is to do with the walkway closure at Ryan Place, Kelso, that council adopt option 2 as detailed in the report.
Move and second, Councillor Moore, Councillor Roach. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, those against, carried. The meeting is closed now at 7:59. Thank you for attending.